you're scrolling at 2 a.m. again. Not because you're looking for anything specific, you're just looking, hoping something will fill that hollow space between your ribs. The one that appeared somewhere around your mid-20s and never quite left. You've tried the fixes, the productivity apps, the vision boards, the morning routines you abandoned by February. You've read the books about optimizing your life, hacking your habits, becoming that elusive best version of yourself. And yet here you are, still scrolling, still searching for permission to just stop. Here's the strange part. The answer you're looking for isn't hiding in some cutting-edge productivity hack or another $2,000 self-improvement course. It's been sitting in plain sight for centuries, preserved in a language most of us can't read, developed by a culture that somehow figured out what the Western world is still desperately trying to name. And once you understand it, you'll never see your struggles the same way again. Let's go back, way back. Picture a child in the 1950s. Post-war America. Their parents survived the Depression, fought in the war, and now they're building something. Suburbs, careers, the American dream. And they're passing down a very specific message to their children. More is better. Growth is everything. If you're not climbing, you're falling. That child grows up, has children of their own, and passes down the same message, slightly updated for the Reagan era. Then the tech boom, then the Instagram age, but the core belief never changes. You must always be becoming. Now here's what's interesting. Around the same time that post-war America was laying the foundation for hustle culture, Japan was rebuilding from something far more devastating. 2 atomic bombs, complete economic collapse, a national identity in ruins. And in the rubble of that destruction, they didn't reach for more. They reached for something else entirely. They reached for enough. See, the Japanese didn't develop these concepts as self-help strategies. They emerged organically from centuries of Buddhist philosophy, Shinto spirituality, and the simple reality of living on an island with limited resources. These weren't motivational posters, they were survival mechanisms that evolved into an entire philosophy of living. And that philosophy starts with a question most of us have never been taught to ask. What is the least I need to feel whole? Let's break this down. In psychology, there's a concept called the hedonic treadmill. It describes how humans rapidly adapt to positive changes in their circumstances. You get the raise, you feel great for 2 weeks, then you're back to baseline, hungry for the next raise. You buy the house, feel accomplished for a month, then start eyeing the bigger house down the street. The treadmill never stops, because you were never taught how to step off. The Japanese have a word for this stepping off. It's called Chisoku. Literally translated, it means knowing sufficiency. Not settling, not giving up, knowing. There's a difference. Chisoku isn't about lowering your standards. It's about examining where your standards actually came from in the first place. That voice telling you you're not successful enough, attractive enough, accomplished enough, whose voice is that really? Your parents? Your exes? A billboard you saw when you were 14? Chisoku asks you to audit your desires the way you'd audit a budget. What's essential? What's inherited? What's just noise? But here's where it gets psychologically interesting. Most of us resist contentment because we've been conditioned to equate it with stagnation. If I'm satisfied with what I have, won't I stop growing? Won't I become complacent? This is where Kaizen enters the picture. Kaizen is the practice of continuous, small improvements, 1% better each day. Not because you're fundamentally broken, but because growth and contentment can coexist. Think about that for a moment. Western self-improvement tells you to hate your current self into becoming your future self. Kaizen says, appreciate where you are while gently moving forward. No self-flagellation required. It's the difference between running on a treadmill because you despise your body and taking a walk because you enjoy the feeling of movement. Same action. Completely different psychological framework. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The thing that keeps most of us trapped on that hamster wheel of perpetual becoming. Comparison. Social media didn't invent comparison, but it industrialized it, scaled it, turned it into a 24/7 broadcast of everyone's highlight reel playing on loop in your pocket. The Japanese have a concept for this too. It's called Oubaitori. The word comes from 4 trees that bloom in spring: cherry, plum, peach, and apricot. Each one blooms at a different time, in a different way, with a different kind of beauty. And here's the thing. No one looks at a plum tree and criticizes it for not being a cherry blossom. Oubaitori reminds us that your timeline is not their timeline. Your path is not their path. And comparing your closed buds to someone else's full bloom isn't just unfair, it's biologically absurd. You're not the same tree. But let's be honest. Knowing this intellectually and feeling it are 2 very different things. You can understand that comparison is pointless and still feel the sting when your college roommate posts about their 3rd promotion. This is where the Japanese philosophy gets genuinely profound. Wabi-Sabi is the aesthetic principle of finding beauty in imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. A cracked teacup, a faded photograph, the lines forming around your eyes. In Western culture, we're taught to hide imperfections, Photoshop them, fix them, apologize for them. Wabi-Sabi says your imperfections aren't something to overcome, they're evidence of a life actually lived. And its close cousin, Kintsugi, takes this even further. Kintsugi is the art of repairing broken pottery with gold. Instead of disguising the cracks, you highlight them. You make the repair the most beautiful part of the object. Think about what that means psychologically. That relationship that devastated you? That failure that still makes you wince? That version of yourself you're ashamed ever existed? Kintsugi says those aren't things to hide. They're the gold seams running through your story. The proof that you broke and that you survived the breaking. Now here's the paradox, and this is where these concepts stop being pleasant philosophy and start becoming genuinely challenging. The Japanese also have a concept called gamen. It means enduring the unbearable with patience and dignity. No complaining, no dramatic collapse, just quiet persistence through suffering. Sounds noble, right? And it can be. But here's the shadow side. Gamen, taken too far, becomes toxic stoicism, silencing yourself, swallowing pain until it poisons you from the inside. Which is why gamen must be balanced with its counterpart, shikata ganai. Shikata ganai translates roughly to, it cannot be helped. It's the wisdom of accepting what you cannot change, not with resignation, but with release. You stop wasting energy fighting reality and redirect that energy toward what you can influence. The Western mind often rebels against this. It sounds like giving up, like passivity. But here's the psychological truth. Some of your deepest suffering comes not from difficult circumstances, but from your resistance to difficult circumstances. You burn more energy fighting the fact that something happened than you'd burn actually moving through it. Shikata ganai isn't surrender, it's strategic resource allocation. We'll come back to why this distinction changes everything. But first, we need to address the biggest lie Western self-help ever told you. The lie is this: once you find your purpose, the restlessness stops. Ikigai is probably the most famous Japanese concept in Western wellness circles. It's often represented as a Venn diagram, the intersection of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. But here's what most people miss about Ikigai. It was never meant to be a destination. The word literally translates to reason for being, present tense, continuous. It's not something you find and then possess forever. It's something you practice, daily, through attention. Which brings us to perhaps the most overlooked concept of all, Ichigo Ichie. One time, one meeting. It means that every moment, every encounter, every conversation is completely unique and will never happen again in exactly this way. The coffee you're drinking right now. This specific moment of reading these words. The sunlight hitting your window at this exact angle. Ichigo Ichie is the antidote to the "I'll be happy when" mindset. It forces presence. It reminds you that while you're busy waiting for your life to begin, your life is happening, right now. In these unrepeatable moments you're barely noticing because you're so fixated on some imaginary future. And finally, there's Mottainai. It's a feeling of regret over waste. Not just physical waste, though it includes that, but wasted time, wasted potential, wasted attention. Mottainai asks, what are you throwing away while chasing what you think you want? How much of your present life are you discarding in pursuit of a future life that may never arrive? So here's the bridge. You don't need to move to Kyoto or study Japanese calligraphy or completely overhaul your existence. These concepts aren't asking you to become someone different. They're asking you to examine the operating system you've been running without your consent. The one that says you're not enough. The one that confuses contentment with complacency. The one that measures your worth in productivity metrics and comparison scores. That operating system was installed before you could consent. By culture, by family, by algorithms designed to keep you hungry. These concepts offer a different system. One that says, you are already enough, and you can still grow. Your cracks are beautiful, and your healing is ongoing. Some things cannot be changed, and that knowledge is freedom, not defeat. Each moment is unrepeatable, and that's exactly what makes it precious. Remember that hollow feeling we started with? The one that keeps you scrolling at 2 a.m.? It's not a sign that something is missing from your life. It's a sign that something is missing from your philosophy. You were taught to fill that space with more achievement, more stuff, more validation, more becoming. But maybe, just maybe, the answer was never more. Maybe it was always enough. And maybe the reason you keep scrolling is because no amount of content will ever give you permission to stop. Only you can do that. You're scrolling at 2 a.m. again, but now you know why.